Good morning, Blue. Good morning, Nat. How are you doing today? I'm doing all right, Freedom. How are you? I'm still a bit stuffed, a bit sick, but I've been worse. Did your mother send you these videos? That's sweet. Shema Israel Asher Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Good morning, Queen. Vahafta את ענת אלוהיך ובכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר נוחים מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. וחיה, כי וחיה אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר נשבע לבתיך, לאברהם נשכח ליעקב, לתת לך ערים גדולות וטובות אשר לא בנית, ובתים מלאים כל טובה אשר למילאת, וברות עצבים אשר לעשות, וכרמים גזיתים אשר נתת, והלכת ושבת. הישמר לך פן תשכח את יהוה אשר תשכח מארץ מצרים מבית עבדים. Good morning, Erica. Good morning, Dr. Punk. Good morning, Carmel. How are you doing? Going mushroom hunting after you dry your hair. Well, it's important to go after you dry your hair, because if you go before you dry your hair, you might catch a chill. And then the mushrooms would make you ill. No. I'm just being a silly human. Yeah, it's the fall. What part of the world are you in? I found a really large maitake the other day. I was watching it. Ooh. Wow, it's loud beep. My rice is ready. I'll have rice with you this morning. I found a very large maitake the other day. I was watching it grow for about 2 weeks at a tree that I know there's maitake growing. And it was pretty good. I added it to some soup. There's still a lot left. I haven't cooked with it yet, but I will. You live in Wales. I imagine the mushroom hunting is very good along the coast. Breakfast is ready. Oh, y'all are so nice. Y'all are so sweet. So, you're from Long Island. The Long Island. Made by the glaciers those many years ago. So, we started reading from this book on Isis and Osiris by Plutarch, right? So Plutarch was the priest of Apollo during the centuries around the time of Christ. And this is the oldest contiguous source that we have around the ancient Greek myth, the ancient Egyptian myth of Osiris and Isis, the death and resurrection of Osiris. And it's not my favorite source. I wish we had something older, but it will have to do. Wales hasn't got dumpsters. I assure you Wales does have dumpsters. They just might not be accessible to you, right? There might be trash compactors. They might be beyond locks. But there are dumpsters. Whether you can find anything good in them is another story. So. You know, it can be rather exhausting to have a bunch of people tell you how you seem, right? Like, I understand that that's my job, right? Like, my job is to be seen, right? To be a public presence character in your life. But I don't actually appreciate it when I come on live and people tell me that I look sad or down. That doesn't make me feel good. Right? Like, I understand that you have perceptions of me, right? Like, you do, right? That's my job. My job is to be perceived. But it can be rather exhausting to have all of those perceptions then thrown back at you. And I'm not necessarily saying don't do it, because, like, that is the mode of social interaction that we have. But also, just do be aware. It's okay. Dr. Punk says, "Goat, goat, goat." How are you doing, Dr. Punk? I mean, it's funny, right? Like, when people tell me, "Oh, you seem really upbeat and happy today," like, usually I appreciate that, right? Like, I don't like it when people tell me that I seem low, because I don't like having that reinforced. I seem like I like goat emojis. I do like goat emojis. Good morning, Kimmy. How are you? I'm happy to see you too, Batya. It's tricky. It's tricky, and I don't know, if it were my full-time job to be an internet personality, I might have a different approach, right? I might be more ensure I was more energized before I came online, but I do try to bring like a more genuine version of myself to this stream, and often that version is sick. I have COVID still. And you know, sometimes life is exhausting. And it is the way it is. Anyhow. So we were reading this story about Isis and Osiris, and what's happened so far is that there was a party, and Osiris's evil brother Typhon in this story, Seth, or Set in most stories. Thank you, Jolie. How are you doing today? How are you feeling? How's life treating you? So what happened? Mint tea? I like mint tea. So there was a party, and the rival gods both went to this party, Set and Osiris, and Set made a coffin, and he said, "Who can fit into this coffin? It sounds like a fun contest." Which is absurd, right? Like, evil villain gives you a death trap, and you're like, "Oh, I'll just go inside the death trap." So Osiris gets into the coffin, and then the coffin gets sealed up with lead, and then cast into the Nile, and swept into the Mediterranean. And then Isis travels all across the eastern Mediterranean looking for her beloved, and she finds him growing out of a tree in the city of Byblos in Lebanon. The coffin has become lodged in the trunk of a tree, and so she befriends the queen of Byblos, who then petitions the king, and the king says, "Sure, you can have that tree, that's fine." And so she takes the coffin out of the tree trunk and makes her way back to Egypt, and that's where we left off. And now we will start reading again. She cut away the erica that surrounded it, the plant she wrapped up in linen cloth, pouring perfume over it, and gave it charge to the king. And to this day the people of Byblos venerate this wood, which is preserved in the temple of Isis. The coffin she clasped to her arms, and wailed so loud that the younger of the king's sons died in fright at it. And the elder she took with her, putting the coffer on board a ship, put to sea, and when the river Phaedrus sent forth too rough a gale, she grew wrath and dried up the stream. So, What happens next? As soon as she obtained privacy, and was left by herself, having opened the coffer, and laid her face upon the face of the corpse, she wailed and wept. But when the little boy observed this, and came up quietly from behind to spy, she perceived him, and turning round gave him a dreadful look in her rage. The child could not stand the fright, and died. Some say it was not so, but in the matter just stated he tumbled in his fright into the sea, but that he received honors for the sake of the goddess. For the Maneros, whom the Egyptians sing about at their feasts, is this child. Others say that the boy is called Palestinos, or Pelusios, and that the city was named after him, having been founded by the goddess. The Maneros that is sung about, they relate, first invented music, but some pretend Maneros is not the name of a person, but an expression suited to people drinking and keeping holiday, and signifying many things of the sort come with good luck. For that the Egyptians exclaim this each time upon the Maneros being uttered, just as, indeed, the exhibition of a dead man in his coffin carried round at feasts is not a reminder for the mourning of Osiris, as some interpret it, but merely intended to warn one to make use of the present and enjoy it, as very soon they themselves shall be as he, which is why they bring it to the feast. That's exhausting. I wish that Plutarch would cease his cultural commentary about why the Egyptians do this and that, and just tell us the plot. But we take what we can get, and this is what Plutarch wrote, and so I'm reading it to you, even though really what I want is mythology of Isis and Osiris in verse. So what do we have here? Isis opens up the coffin, she kisses the corpse, and she's very sad, and a small child comes and witnesses her necrophilia, and then dies and is cast overboard. And then there's some 2,000-year-old cultural commentary about what it means. So it goes. We can continue on. But when Isis had gone to see her son Horus, who was at nurse in the city of Buto, and had the coffer put away, Typhon, being out on hunting by moonlight, came upon it. The villain finds the coffin. Typhon, being out at hunting by moonlight, came upon it, and recognizing the corpse, tore it into 14 pieces, and scattered them abroad. Isis, having heard of this, sought after the fragments, passing over the swamps in a papyrus boat, for which cause such as a sail in papyrus boats are never injured by crocodiles, because they either fear or respect the goddess. From this circumstance, there are many places called tombs of Osiris all over Egypt, because she, whenever she came upon a fragment of the body, there celebrated a funeral. Some deny this. Okay, Plutarch, just tell us the story. Some deny this, but say she made images and gave them to several cities, giving them as the actual body, in order that they might receive honors from those sailing past. This is my body, and this is my blood. In order that they may receive honors from those sailing past, and if that Typhon should get the better of Horus, when searching for the real tomb, he may be baffled, for many being so called and pointed out. Of the members of Osiris, the only one Isis was unable to find, this is critical, was the genital members. For it had been thrown at first into the river, and Lepidus, Phagris, and Oxyrhynchus had fed upon it, which kinds of fish the natives scruple to eat above all others, and that Isis in its stead made a model and consecrate it, namely the phallus, in honor whereof the Egyptians hold a festival. The child died from her loud cries, emphasizing the pitch. Let's go back. Why did the child die? She wailed and wept, but when the little boy observed this, came upon quietly from behind him, she perceived him, and turning around, gave him a dreadful look in rage, and the child could not stand the fright and died. So the child dies because Isis glares at him, because she's got, a very scary goddess face. Child dies. Isis brings the corpse back to Egypt, but then Typhon, Set, finds the corpse, chops it into 14 pieces, spreads it all around Egypt, and then Isis has to go find the different corpse pieces. Whenever she finds a piece, she builds a temple on that spot. Excellent explanation for why there are so many temples to Osiris in Egypt, but she fails to find the phallus, because it was eaten by a bunch of fishes. And with that, we will lead off. The phallus will become very important later on in the story, but we will have to hold on for another day to find out what happens to the corpse of Osiris and his missing penis. Dum dum dum! Good morning, Bucks. Your parents named you Isis. Hippie parents. I like hippie parents. Thanks, ND. How are you? So, what's next? What's next on the agenda? Next is Arati. Arati, flame time. Prayer to the light. Thanks, Dr. Punk. Jolie, what are you up to today? You heading to work? How do I stay so trim? It's genes. It's nothing I do. It's nothing I eat. It's not that I get enough exercise. I'm not actually the most fit person. But my father gave me some genetic pre-recollections, including this dastardly Y chromosome. Wish he had held off. In any case, it just is the way that it is. If I had to pick a baby name, what would I pick? Well, let's see. What was one of the nicer names in here? Oxyrhynchus. That was a pretty good name. Although it's not the kind of name that you would name a person. Others say that the boy was called Palestinos, right? You could name him after Palestine. I don't know. Like, I'm partial to very old names, basically. G-Hawk. G the Hotwall. Fenrir. No, like, I mean, I think if I have a child, I will seriously consider giving that kid an ancient Eastern Mediterranean name, because that's the mythology that I find captivating. But no, you should name your kid something boring like John or Emily, because then they won't get teased. I don't know. Depends on where in the world you are. So, hi, hello, good morning. I'm in a funny mood this morning. The world feels a bit surreal today, like many days. But we should say Arati, because that's the ritual that we do. Jaya Jaya Arati, Vina Vinayaka, Vina Vinayaka, Shri Ganesha, Jaya Jaya Arati, Subramanya, Subramanya Kartikeya, Jaya Jaya Arati, Venugopala, Venugopala, Venuola, Papa Vidura Namanita Chora, Jaya Jaya Arati, Venkantaramana, Venkantaramana, Sankataharana, Sitarama Radhe Shama, Jaya Jaya Arati, Gauri Manohara, Gauri Manohara, Bhavani Sankara, Samba Sadashiva, Uma Maheshwara, Jaya Jaya Arati, Raja Rajeshwari, Raja Rajeshwari, Tripura Sundari, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati, Mahakali, Mahashakti, Jaya Jaya Arati, Anjaneya, Anjaneya Hanumanta, Jaya Jaya Arati, Dattatreya, Dattatreya, Trimutri Avatara, Jaya Jaya Arati, Adityaya, Adityaya, Bhaskaraya, Jaya Jaya Arati, Sanisharaya, Sanisharaya, Bhaskaraya, Jaya Jaya Arati, Sankarachaya, Sankarachaya, Advaita Gurave, Jaya Jaya Arati, Sadgurunata, Sadgurunata, Shivananda, Jaya Jaya Arati, Vishnu Devananda, Vishnu Devananda, Vishnu Devananda, Jaya Jaya Arati, Agastya Munaye, Agastya Munaye, Shyama Priyaye, Jaya Jaya Arati, Ayapa Samine, Ayapa Samine, Dharma Shastave, Jaya Jaya Arati, Jesus Gurave, Moses Gurave, Buddha Gurave, Jaya Jaya Arati, Muhammad Gurave, Guru Nanak Gurave, Samastya Gurubho Namaha, Jaya Jaya Arati, Venugopala. Natatra suyobati natandra karatam nima vidyobati kutoya magni. Dwamiv bantam banti sarvam tasya basya samidam vivanti. Om gange kayamane kaiva govari saraswati. Narmade siddhi kaveri hiya. Namastitam namo namaha. Tvameva mata, Japita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandisha Saka Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya Javinam Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Kayena Vacha Manasandriyarva, Buddhyatmanava Prakrite Sabhavad, Karomi Adyad, Sakalam Marasmahe, Narayana Iti Sarmar, Payami Savadharmam Pravichayam Mikam Savanam Vraja Aham Svasarva Papayo Mokshayami Masicha. Whatever actions I perform with my body, speech, mind, senses, my nature, my intellect, or my emotions, whether I am sick or whether I am well, all these I dedicate to you. Thank you so much for joining me here today and so many days. Appreciate it. So we will conclude with Kaddish. Kaddish as a prayer of mourning, a prayer of grief. We can publicly mark that which we are missing, that which causes us sadness and pain, because by marking these things together, we can feel connected to one another, and that's worth something, I believe. You are often my favorite part of my day, Freedom. I do love doing this. Even when life is hard, I do love doing this. For the last 2,500 years, my ancestors have said these words in response to death. Yid Kadav, Yid Kadash, Shema Rabbah, Bialma Difrachirte, Viam Lichmal Chute, Bachayachon of Yomachon of Chayede Kolbe Israel, Bagala, Vizman Kari Vimru, Amin. Yehe Shema Rabbah Meva Arch Lialam, Almei, Almaya, Yid Barach, Vishtabach, Vit Baar, Vit Ramam, Vit Nase, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal Shema de Kudisha Brechu, Leila Min Kol Birchata Vishirata, Tushbichata, Vanechemata, Jamiran Bialma, Vimru, Amin. Yehe Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu V'chol Yisrael V'imru Amen Ose Shalom V'imramav Huya Ase Shalom Aleinu V'chol Yisrael V'imru Amen Ose Shalom V'imramav Huya Ase Shalom Aleinu V'chol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Ose Shalom V'imramav Huya Ase Shalom Aleinu V'alechol Yisrael, V'imru v'imru, Amen. You're amazing, Bluebells. Thank you. I'm gonna go get some rice, because I'm hungry. And, we can hang out and chat a little bit. I'd love to hear what you're up to today. I'm not sure what I'm going to get up to today. I guess I have a day off. It's difficult to know. Okay. I'll be back in 30 seconds or so with some rice. Okay? paint. I suppose I painted it. It's Sharpie. But, for whatever reasons, people always assume that it's paint, instead of ink. I'm not really sure what the difference is between paint and ink, other than that one uses a brush and one uses a felt tip. But, like, you can also paint with ink. I don't know. Words are strange. And not the most useful most of the time. I wish we could do without language entirely. Just experience with color. No more symbols. What's going on here? What's this? I don't want to eat that. It's Sukkot. Everyone eats in a hut. Very festive. Do you have a sukkah outside your house? Yeah, I remember walking through Wadi al-Makhur and seeing all the olive groves there. Excuse me. And thinking about Sukkot and how the festival makes sense, or sort of is contingent upon a model of property ownership that doesn't exist in most parts of the world anymore, with like concentrated urban areas where everyone lives and fields far away that doesn't make sense to go out and to them daily, right? So you only go out seasonally to harvest olives or whatnot. And I could see that pattern in the valleys outside of Bethlehem. I was like, oh, that's why that festival exists. Veins and roots, yes, indeed. The name for the pattern, like the formal name, is ramifying. And often we hear like, what are the ramifications of that? And you mean like consequences. But in terms of physical structures, a ramifying structure is one that branches like this. You could also just call it branching. Gosh, I don't know if I can eat all of this. You know, I'm still sick. Undeniable. I like to come and hang out with you, but I am still sick. What do I put in my rice? Today I put in oil and soy sauce, and I'm eating it with seaweed. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. What day is today? Today is Monday. I think I'm going to call the bank today. We're having difficulty getting access to a particular bank account. We should call them. Then I have to eat it all. But what if I can't, Dr. Punk? What if my body betrays me? I don't know. Why am I talking about body betrayal? I guess it's dysphoria? Experience of not being in one's body? I would like some sushi. Yeah, some raw tuna. That would be great. Strave a fever, feed a cold? Starve a fever, feed a cold. I don't know if it works like that. I'm glad I make your mornings feel cozy, Meg. I appreciate that feedback. It's nice to have someone to eat breakfast with, huh? Come with me. I'm going to make mint tea. In a world of pure imagination. So it goes. Make some tea, Bluebells. Do it. Dr. Punk, what are you up to today? More work. Work, work, work. Monday, corporate machine. From Vietnam. Welcome. I'm in the US on the East Coast. And I'm glad we've made it into the same spot together. Corporate machine. Do I work for a corporate machine? It's difficult to say. Suppose I'm kind of like an Uber driver. But for entertainment. You're timekeeping for 45 employees. Does that mean that you are responsible for sending them their paychecks and making sure that they are all clocked in? Sounds like a very necessary task for a large organization. Weekend was solid. Your fiancé turned 30. Well, that's great. When are you getting married? I did not know that you had a fiancé until just now. I think it is time for me to go. I'll have one more bite of this. But yeah, there's no way I can eat all of it. My appetite is still poor. I hope you have a lovely day, everyone. Yeah, I will see you some other time. Thanks so much for hanging out. Even when I'm sick, I'll see you tomorrow. I hope you have a really lovely day. Farewell.